Hello everyone, welcome to the Metal Frontier. We're here today with Pack 16 of Agora Models Build the RMS Titanic. If you're new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a second of any of my great content. So, I've already said this on the Enterprise build a couple episodes ago, but if you're one of the people that only watches this for this build, I'm sorry I've been away for so long. I know I've been getting a lot of comments asking, where's the next video? Where's the next video? This is one of those situations where sometimes, you know, as a content creator, real life kind of takes over for a while. I've had some really big stuff go down in my personal life. I've had a lot of issues in my personal life that I've been dealing with, and it caused me to fall a bit behind on these models. So, good news is I'm all caught up. I'm able to get the videos out again, so that just means you guys are going to get some quick rapid fire videos for a little bit. So that's going to be great. Now, if you remember last issue, I know it's been a real long time, but if you remember last issue, we did a lot of work on the superstructure as well as doing some more expansions of the hull. As I'm sure you can guess, that's going to continue on in this episode. Before we begin though, your Titanic trivia question that we ended the last time with, if you remember, it was a true-false question. True or false? It cost approximately $8 million to build the Titanic. And the answer to that, naturally, is that is true. In 1912, it cost about $8 million to build the Titanic. And just to give you an idea of what that translates to, if we were to bring that into 2024, that means the Titanic itself cost $258,596,288.66 today to build. Which also means that the 1997 movie, even adjusting for inflation, still cost more to make than the actual Titanic itself.
Note the time, enter it in the log.
What was that, Mr. Murdoch?
An iceberg, sir. I put her hard to starboard and ran the engines full of stern, but it was too close. I tried to port round it, but she hit, and...
Close the watertight doors.
The doors are closed, sir.
All stop.
Aye, sir.
Find the carpenter. Get him to sound the ship.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so where Pack 15 ended, Pack 16 is going to start back up. This time we're going to be focusing in on this side of the ship, which obviously means we're going to be putting in a couple more pieces of the hull. Before we get started though, your first Titanic trivia question is, approximately how many rivets were used in the Titanic's construction? Was it A, 1 million, B, 2 million, or was it C, 3 million? Although I'm pretty sure you can guess the answer to that, you'll get confirmation at the end of stage 88. Just like before, we're going to start with this red section here. And as I'm sure you can see, it's going to fit in right there. And it's going to get held in place with a pair of the LM screws. There we go. Once that's in, that is it for stage 87.
Most unfortunate, Captain.
Water 14 feet above the keel in 10 minutes. In the 4P, in all 3 holds, and in boiler room 6. That's right, sir.
When can we get underway, damn it?
That's 5 compartments. She can stay afloat with the first 4 compartments breached, but not 5. Not 5. As she goes down by the head, the water will spill over the tops of the bulkheads at E deck, from one to the next, back and back. There's no stopping it.
The pumps. If we open the doors...
The pumps buy you time, but minutes only. From this moment, no matter what we do, Titanic will founder.
But this ship can't sink.
She's made of iron, sir. I assure you, she can. And she will. It is a mathematical certainty.
How much time?
An hour, 2 at most.
And how many aboard, Mr. Murdoch?
2,200 souls on board, sir.
Well, I believe you may get your headlines, Mr. Ismay.
So as you probably guessed, stage 86 is going to involve us putting the black part of the hull on. And just like always, you're going to want to guide it in kind of an angle and try to clip it into place. And once you get it in there, once you get that clipped in, the rest of those should go in nicely. And now I'm going to lay this on its side because we're going to use gravity to help us here. And we're going to put in, well, you're not going to see it there. There we go. We're going to put in 6 LM screws, 2 in here, and then 4 along the rest of it. There we go, and that is it for that stage. To answer your Titanic trivia question from last stage, because we are finally going to get to start seeing how big this hull is. Approximately how many rivets were used in the Titanic's construction? Was it A, 1 million, B, 2 million, or C, 3 million? And of course, you guessed it, the answer is C. 3 million rivets were used to hold the Titanic together. And in the end, it was only a small fraction of those that were enough to cause the Titanic to sink. Okay, so here we're going to start stage 89 of the Titanic. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to give you a true-false question for this issue, for this part of Titanic trivia. J. Bruce Ismay resided at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. during the American Inquiry. Is that true or is that false? You'll find out your answer at the end of the next stage. So, as you can probably figure out, we've got this back section of the superstructure. They call it the bridge deck, but I'm calling it the superstructure because that's what it is. We've got this back section of this part, and the first thing we're going to be doing is putting on a piece of wood of our wooden decking. So, you know, I've had to trim the decking down a little bit, smooth down some of the sides, but once you get all the decking good in a dry fit, obviously, we're going to spread some wood glue out. We're going to spread out some wood glue. Of course, once we get that spread out, we're going to take the backing off of our deck piece. And then we're going to put our deck piece onto the deck. Just like that. Now then, usually when they give us a piece of wood decking, that's usually all they have us put on. But this time, they're not doing that. They actually want us to bring over the big part, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. So they want us to bring over this bigger section, because we're going to be putting these together. Now, I already did put on the excess parts, the extra parts from for this part of the superstructure. You can see we've got ends hanging off here. So this is going to be a little bit tricky to do, but we will be getting it done. So let's flip this over. You just want to get it lined up with the screw holes. Clipped into place. So just like that. It is a bit tricky to do, but I assure you, once you get it in there, it's just a matter of kind of it's tough to describe it, but it's a matter of kind of lining up everything here and just kind of guiding it into place. And once that is in place, we're going to screw it down with 6 AP screws right in these 6 slots. Just like that. Now, normally speaking, this would be where they would end it, but you know what a stickler I am for let's work smarter, not harder. So, since we've already got this flipped over, we're going to go ahead and grab these light bars and we're going to put them in where they got to go, all the way along the back. Now one of these has a special light on the bottom here. So obviously that one's going to go in the very back. So we got to make sure you put the right one in the right places. So there is one that is special to put in. As you can see, there is a hole that this one's got to sit into. It's got to sit into this hole in the back here. Okay, and once you're satisfied with how those are sitting, if you did the modification like I did, all you gotta do now is just glue these sides down to the deck. And then that is it for that stage. Okay, so we're going to continue on with stage 90. And the first step of this is right in here. They want us to put a couple more of those bracers just like we did in the front. Now obviously if you're doing my mods you're gonna have a little extra support on the outside, but this is gonna help you on the inside when we go to put our decks down. So all you're gonna do is take your metal bracer, put it into position, and then I like to just kind of brush a little glue on the bottom or on it just to help lock that into place. Just on the seam there. And we're going to do that on both sides. Now with that in place, we want to flip this back over because we got some stuff. We got something to add now. And we're going to be focusing in on this section here where you've guessed it, we've got another staircase to add in. And as always, you just kind of push it in until the tabs clip into place. And we're naturally going to hold that down with a pair of AP screws. Just like that. Now, we're going to jump a little ahead in the instructions here because, again, I want to show you ways to work smarter, not harder. So, as you can imagine, with all the, I'm sure you've looked through your boxes and you've seen we get a bunch of these wires. We've already put in all of our boards, so you know what that means. We're going to be expected to connect the boards together. So we're going to go ahead and do that while we've got this upside down right now. So we're going to start in the back section here. And they want you to find port J3, which is this one here. And they want you to connect it to the J3 port on this side, which is here. And you don't have to worry about training your wires. You'll train those later. Like that. And then moving forward. They want you to take this port, J2, and plug a cord in here. And then you're going to go all the way past the staircase into J3 over here. Like that. Now we're going to go forward again. this next set, we're going to take another wire. And we're going to connect J2, which is this port here. Sorry. This port right here, we're going to connect that to this port over here, J2 as well. So J2, on this one, it's J2 to J2. Alright, we got that. Now we're going to move forward again. Have to move my camera this time because I can't. I'm running out of table space. So now this time, they want us to put J1, which is here. I find it odd they want us to use this one when there's obviously a port that there's a wire going to come down in, but they must know what they're doing. But they want this now to connect to J3 on this board. So it's going to go like this. You're going to kind of snake it up. Just like that. Now, if you want to test this, you can take your tester box. And if we plug our tester box into this port here, J1 on the front, we can now see all of them lit up. So now all these boards are connected together. We can unplug our tester. And with that, we are now finished on the bottom. So now we can flip it back over and continue work on the upper section. Now for this part, we're going to be focusing in on this section of the ship, which is the Café Parisien, or the Parisian Cafe, if you want to call it that. Whatever you call it, it's basically a giant kind of open cafe that the passengers could eat in. Basically, you'd have the seating and you'd have it where the windows are. So kind of like down in here where the windows are, it would just be an open air cafe. So you'd be eating like you would if you were in Paris. But we gotta put some decking down. So I'm going to spread some glue out, because I always put wood glue down on these. Just like that. We're going to take our wood decking. Of course, we're going to peel off our backing. And we're just going to kind of line it up with this other deck piece here. And we're going to put it into place. Now, don't worry that this curve doesn't match up perfectly, because it'll be fine. I don't think it's something you'll really notice once you get the walls of the Parisian Cafe in. You do, however, need to put an extra piece of wood back here. Because it's just not long enough. Just like that. Now, before we go on to the next step, we do have one more piece to put in. And it's another one of these pieces for the expansion thing, which is going to go right in here. So you're basically going to put it right on the seam right here. Just like that. Now they do say you need to put a piece of wood in here, but of course we've already done that, so we don't need to do that now. What we are going to do now is we're going to set this aside for a few minutes, and we're going to bring over the bulkhead for the Cafe Parisien. Now obviously I'm showing it from this side because you know what I'm about to say. Just like with the promenade decks, there's a couple of minor changes we need to make. First of all, there needs to be a wall here, which I've gone ahead and added. But I've also decided to use some stuff from China 3D to add some details to it, to make it look more like the Cafe Parisien and not just a plain white wall. So I've added in this lovely pattern work here that makes it look all good. And of course you've got to add in your windows. All of your windows here, the 6 here, and all your windows on here. Of course I've used the KA set, but you could definitely use the set that comes with it. The trickiest one again is going to be just like on what was it, A deck? The trickiest one's going to be this one because it curves outwards. So what I found, there's 2 methods you could do. You could always take just something to roll it on, like the back of a brush or a screwdriver, and just kind of roll it a little bit to put it on. Or glue one side on first, and then just kind of work it down until it gets down in there. But once those are on, we got something to add to the back of it. As you can undoubtedly guess, just like we've always done, we got to add these to connect it to the deck. Now, as always, they are keyhole patterned. They only go in one way. Like that. And as always, they're held in place with AP screws. Just like that, those are in. And now we're going to go put this into our Superstructure deck. So we're going to put this into our decking. Obviously, we're going to match the tabs up. With the tabs, it is a little bit crooked, warped, but part of the best part of this model is once you get the screws in, it takes care of the warping. Once we got the bulkhead in place, we're going to hold it down with, you guessed it, 4 more AP screws. Just like that. And you see, now it's nice and straight. That bulkhead's on nice and secure. This is why there are some people in the groups mentioning that the superstructure seems to be kind of curving upwards. Again, because this is plastic, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because at some point we're going to be screwing all these together, and I get the feeling that once we screw these into the hull, the plastic's going to curve and it's going to make it, and we're going to be able to screw it down flat. So don't worry over much if there's any warping on any of this, because remember, eventually it's going to get all screwed down into place. But that is it for stage 90. We would normally have to put down a... We would normally have to put the next light board in, but we've already done that. So before we move on, if you remember your Titanic trivia question, we're doing a true-false. J. Bruce Ismay resided at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. during his American inquiry. Is that true or false? The answer is that was false. He actually stayed at the Willard Hotel. Not the Watergate, the Willard. So for stage 91, we've got a couple more bulkheads that we got to put into place. So we're going to work on those. Before we do, your next Titanic trivia question in this penultimate stage. In what year did plans to build the Titanic actually begin? Was it an A, 1907, B, 1909, C, 1908, or D, 1910? And of course, the answer to that question will come at the end of stage 92. So as I said, we got a couple of these bulkheads here. We've got some changes that I had to make to them. For one thing, the bulkhead they show in here is a straight wall, a straight line, but there's really a wall that comes out here. I just cut the end off of this and used it to make both the wall for the Cafe Parisien and this extra wall here, which you'll see come into play later. After you've put in your windows on this, we've got this bulkhead too, where I've added 2 windows. Now, I did cheat a little bit. I just put the brown window frames over black tape. You can, of course, drill these out and put in and, glaze them up and just put the frames on. But the reason I did it this way is because this section is actually going to be covered by a deck house from the A deck section. So we don't really need to have those light up. You can, again, if you want, your model, do what you want to do, but I did it this way. So the next thing to do, of course, is we have to put in these tabs. Again, keyhole patterns, they can only go in one way. Since we did cut off a section, we're only going to be using 2 on this and 4 on this one. And naturally, they get held in place with AP screws. So just like that, we got those on. Now we need to bring back over our superstructure so we can put these bulkheads into place. So we're going to focus in on this section here and this part here. We want to put this piece in first, and this is why you can see we didn't put in the one bolt. We changed this up because that bulkhead now fits perfectly into that. And again, this is held in with AP screws. Just like that. And then we've got this bulkhead, which is going to go right in the back here and kind of join these together. So it goes around the 2 boxes. You'll see it fit in where it goes. Once you get that in place, we're going to hold that in with 4, you guessed it, AP screws. There we go, just like that. And of course, I put in all my windows using the KA set, so we got all those into place. Now with the bulkheads done, we have one more thing to do, and this is a big reason why I said do all the stuff on the bottom of this first, because we have 2 of these vents to put into place. And naturally, when you have something sticking up, the last thing you want to be doing is having it all over having to do stuff on the bottom where you're going to risk pinging these off. For these, we're going to just glue them into place. There's a couple of minor areas, you can see where they go. Just like that. And once those are in position, that will do it for this stage. Because again, we've already done the smart thing of doing all the bottom stuff first. Now for the last stage of this pack, we've got this bulkhead, which is obviously going to go towards the aft well deck. So I've painted this with the proper coloring, which again, if you don't remember from the forward well deck coloring, it's an equal combination of orange and brown. It's important that you get that measurement right because this is the same color that's going to be for the masts. So you want to make sure you have everything looking right. Again, this is your model. You can make it look however you want. If you want to go more brown, you can go more brown. You could go more orange if you want. Again, there's no right or wrong way. There's no way to know 100% for sure because, again, the Titanic's at the bottom of the sea. We have no color pictures of it. The closest we can go by is what's on the Olympic, but even then, that's changed over years, so we don't have any way of knowing with 100% certainty. I like the look of this color. You do what you want to do. Now, another thing I'm going to tell you is that over here, there are technically supposed to be windows that go in those, but I looked it up on I looked at Titanic Honor and Glory's demo. There's no windows in these. And as a matter of fact, these are going to actually get covered up by cranes later on. So this is another up to you moment. You could put the window frames in. You could choose not to. I can't tell you if they're brown, if they're white, what color they are. So I'm leaving them off of mine, but this is a total up to you moment. Also up to you, and again, I'm leaving it off. There are supposed to be lights on these sections. There's a light in each of these corners on here, and a light right above the door here. Again, I'm not going to add those in because I don't think we'll need them. So I'm just leaving the bulkhead like this. What we will be doing, though, according to the instructions, is we're going to be putting 4 of these tabs in. And again, they are keyhole patterned, so they can only go on here one way. And then, of course, they get held down with our favorite screw for this build, the AP screws. Just like that. And now, if you haven't figured it out, we're obviously going to go put this onto our hull, so onto our superstructure. So go grab that, and I'll meet you back here with it. So now with this part of the superstructure, we're just going to put the bulkhead into place. Just like that. And let's take a guess here, folks. What screws are we going to use to hold this into place? That's not even a Titanic trivia question. We all know it's going to be the AP screws. The screw of choice. And there we go. Now with that all done, they would now have you move on and do all the wiring and all the other boards. But we've already done that because we're working smarter, not harder. So that is it for that stage, and that is it for this pack. So just to remind you, your question from stage 91, in what year did plans to build the Titanic actually begin? Was it in A, 1907, B, 1909, C, 1908, or D, 1910? The answer is it was at a dinner party in 1907. That is when J. Bruce Ismay said he had the idea of these 3 luxury liners that would stand the test of time. So that's it for this episode of the Model Frontier, and, you know, it doesn't seem like we did a lot, but we really did if you really think about it. We got the Superstructure all wired up and lit and ready to be fully lit. We've got the entire Superstructure size done, and we've expanded our hull out some more. So, you know, we're getting, you can see just by the size, we're getting quite big. This thing's getting hard for me to store. I'm sure it's getting hard for you to store it too. So, next issue is going to be, there's going to be a lot of fun to do in that, so don't miss it. As I've said in the Enterprise videos, but again, you might not have seen those, I'm coming up on the end of the Enterprise build, and because of that, I'm looking into what model to do next. Now, I was going to do the Millennium Falcon from Fan Home, but they for whatever reason took that away as an option, so now I have to find a new model to do. Well, I've got 7 different options, and I can't pick one of them. So I'm letting you guys decide. If you look down in my community tab below, there's a poll in 2 parts because of how YouTube made me do it. So you guys can vote for whichever model you want. I guess technically you can vote once in each poll if you really want to, but whatever. The winning model, that's the one that I'm gonna do next. So make your voice heard and help to guide the direction of the content on this channel. And before we go, the next Titanic trivia question for you guys. In what lifeboat did 4th Officer Boxhall leave the Titanic? Did he leave in A, boat number 1, B, boat number 2, or C, boat number 3? That answer will be coming to you next time on the Model Frontier.